Well, hello friends, and welcome to another WSIB Truth Matters with Joe Machado, where I separate the truth from bullshit, facts from fiction, in plain English. Well, the weekend is upon us, my friends, and I'm having my favorite weekend bevy in my favorite weekend mug. Lots of lemonade with lots of ice. I have some important stuff to talk about today. Actually, it's always important. But one subject matter that I think is going to be of interest to you. So without any further delay, let's get at it. Well, friends, just like that, another weekend is upon us. It's a good thing that this week was a short week, with the Labor Day long weekend. I hope that you all had a great long weekend. And as we get closer to the fall right now, I hope that your transition into the fall is a lot better than mine, because I hate the winter. And for me, growing up back in Portugal, where we didn't have the harsh winters with snow and all of that, but when fall comes along, I know that winter is pretty close, and I hate the winter. But I'm sure you didn't tune in to hear me talk about the weather. Today I'm going to talk about the issue of, or it's not necessarily an issue, but the WSIB's policy when dealing with a recurrence of an injury, or whether to accept it as a new claim. I know that it's a situation that can be somewhat confusing, and that's why I wanted to touch upon it today. So it is covered under a very specific policy, under policy 150205. So if you like to do searches on the internet and you'd like to check it out, just put in WSIB policy 150205 on your search or your browser, and it'll take you to that policy. What is the definition of a recurrence? So recurrence occurs when a worker, and I'm going to put it up here, worker experiences a significant deterioration. Now, I want to really emphasize that word, significant deterioration of their work-related injury or disease that is clinically compatible with the original condition. In other words, to the same area. This deterioration must be demonstrated by measurable changes in clinical findings. So your doctor would have to demonstrate that there has been a range of reduction of range of motion, things of that nature, and that such a change in the ability produces the inability to perform job duties. If the deterioration is linked to a new significant incident or exposure, it may not be classified as a recurrence, but rather a new claim. And this is where things get a little bit hairy. I've seen it happen many, many times where the WSIB decides to set up a new claim because the person went back to work, or they were working all along after they had an injury, and then while working, they had another minor injury, or whether they were off and then returned to work, whether it be the regular job or modified job, and had another minor injury during the course of that period. And sometimes they're too quick to set up a new claim and establish that incident as a new claim as opposed to as a recurrence of the previous claim. And so it's really important that you understand this, because a recurrence versus setting up a new claim can have some financial implications. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in this episode. But I think the key factors to understand is that if there is a significant new injury, even if it's to the same area that you had previously injured, then because there was an accident or an incident that took place, a very specific incident, then in a lot of cases it could be considered a new claim. But if it wasn't a significant occurrence or injury or incident, and you're just going about doing your job, and you find that you tweaked the area that you'd previously injured, and that there was some pain associated with that and some inability to do the job, it doesn't necessarily mean that should be a new injury. And so one of the things that I think is important to touch on is, how does this happen? And because it's important to understand the root of where there's a recurrence and whether there's a new injury to that same area of injury that was previously injured. Because in my opinion, based on over 30 years and having dealt with thousands of files and having reviewed thousands of medical reports and WSIB memos and all that kind of crap, and you've heard me talk about that. You know, if you didn't have a major injury to that same area, then it should be considered a recurrence. But how does this happen? Well, oftentimes what I see happening is you're pushed to go back to work or coerced. The WSIB doesn't like that word, but I use it because it's the right word. Coercion is when it's the practice of persuading someone to do something by using force or threats. Well, in a lot of cases, the WSIB will use the threat that they're going to deem you uncooperative and reduce your benefits or take away your benefits if you don't do what they're asking you to do. Well, that's coercion. It's not being non-cooperative. They're using that, dangling the carrot that, hey, if you don't do this, we're going to cut you off. That's pretty significant, right? And in some cases, it's considered criminal to do that because they know you rely and depend on your money. So I don't believe that most workers are trying to be non-cooperative. I believe that a lot of them are actually following the advice of their doctors, right? And if your doctor is saying, well, listen, I really don't think that you're ready to go back to work, and you're saying this to the WSIB, and they're saying, well, hey, we think you're ready to go back to work, and if you don't, we're going to deem you uncooperative. Who are you going to listen to, right? Well, you're going to listen to your fucking doctor, not some schmuck at the WSIB who has zero medical training whatsoever, trying to overrule what your doctor's saying. You always, always, always follow your doctor's advice, unless it's completely absurd. But in most cases, your doctor wants to see you get well, right? But it's these idiots, right? So they coerce you to try and trump your doctor's advice to do what they want you to do, because if you don't, they're going to deem you uncooperative and take away your benefits, right? So how are you going to pay for your bills, feed your family, right? When these fuckers are doing this to you. But they do it. They do it all the time, right? So then you end up with a recurrence. And then they have to figure out, oh, well, this is a new occurrence or is this a new injury? Well, they shouldn't have to figure any of that out if they gave you proper time to recover and follow your doctor's recommendations. I'm not saying that all recurrences because they do that, but I see them doing that more often than not. Like far more often than not. To an alarming degree, where people then end up going back to work and getting re-injured in the same area of injury, right? Then they question what's going on. Why? Fuck. I've often said you can't fix stupid, and a lot of these people, you can't fix them. Believe me. All you can do is fight them. Oftentimes, you'd be pushed back to work when the employer's saying, well, yeah, we have a modified work program. Yeah, we have some duties that we can find for this person. And then you got these two, right? The WSIB and their infinite level of wisdom, or I would say stupidity, dealing with an employer that wants you back to work at all costs, even if you're going to get re-injured. I'm not saying all employers are like that, but regardless, I point it out because I've seen it happen too often. And I'm not even saying that they're trying to be negative or they're trying to impact you in a negative way. They just feel, okay, if the WSIB is saying that you're good to go back to Medford work and our reemployment obligations are such that we're going to cooperate, then we're going to cooperate. Right? Because this all starts over here with these idiots right here. These idiots. That's there. It starts with them. Right? They don't like it when I say that. But you know, you call a spade, and you call a stupid. There's no other name for it. So then you don't know what you're going to do. Like, what job are you going to do? Nobody tries to really delineate what it is you're going to do. So you go back to work and they say, okay, well, why don't you try this? And you try that, and, you know, it's against your restrictions, and you re-injure yourself, right? Because it's going to happen. It's done all the time. That's why you got to listen to your doctors. Don't listen to the idiots, right? Like, if there hasn't been proper enough due diligence on the part of the WSIB and the return to work specialist or whomever else is involved with your employer to try and really be specific about what you're going to do to ensure that it is within your restrictions, to ensure that you're going to make every possible effort that you're not going to get re-injured. If all those things are done, then you should be okay. But no, a lot of times that's not the case. And a lot of times they don't even listen to your doctor because the doctor should be involved in the process. That's why they have these FAF forms. Why do you request these anyway if medical professionals are going to write stuff down on them and do their due diligence and you're just going to overrule it anyway? This is for the idiots now, right? This is for the idiots. Why request it? It's a waste of fucking time to request something that you're not even going to read or bother to implement. And it's costly. You're wasting everybody's time, and it's costly. It costs money to do this shit. But you don't. So your doctor isn't involved in the process. You go back to work. You don't know what you're going to be doing, and you get re-injured. Then you get the odd employer who's going to actually try and push you to do things beyond what was agreed on, because some of them, they just want to make life so fucking miserable for you that you quit and give up, and then you have no recourse, right? These are the games that are played, my friends. And in a lot of times I see this happen where your doctor's saying you're not ready. Your doctor's saying that job isn't suitable for you. Everybody's pushing you to do it, so you got to succumb to the pressure, otherwise you're not going to get paid. And then you go in and because you really want to impress your employer and the WSIB, because you want to demonstrate in every way possible that you're being cooperative, and you do something that is not within your restrictions, and then you have a recurrence. It's a vicious, stupid fucking cycle that happens over and over and over. I wish I had the magic answer. The only way that you can fight this is by fighting it, pushing back. With us at WSIB Settlements, we push back. Believe me, they pay attention. They're beginning to pay more attention now than they have for a while. We're getting this whole improved level of cooperation from the WSIB because they know we're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to stay. I'm here to continue to talk on this channel to help injured workers. Nothing they can do or say is going to change that. Nothing. So yes, they're paying attention, but if you don't have any support, you don't understand the laws and your rights, and these idiots are they're gonna drive you fucking nuts to do shit that you shouldn't be doing. So, recurrence versus new injury. In many cases, a recurrence should be considered a recurrence, and I'll tell you why. because it does affect your benefits. So for example, if you were injured before January 1st, 1990, and you're a pre-1990 claim, and you have a recurrence of that injury in January 1st, 1990, or January 2nd, 1990, where the new law came in, and they accept that as a new claim as opposed to a recurrence of a previous claim, it can affect your pension, how much of pension you receive, and pre-1990 pensions go for life. It can affect supplements that you're entitled to receive, which are in most cases far better than the structure of benefits in both Bill 162 and Bill 99. And you can miss out on even a period of that recurrence where you need to take time off work for that recurrence for medical rehabilitation or whatever the case is, and they're going to pay you total temporary disability benefits, and those temporary total disability benefits would be based on your escalated pre-injury earnings for a pre-1990 claim, which could be a lot higher than what you were earning on January 2nd, 1990. It could be in an entirely different new job. You were retrained, you got a job that paid you less, yada, yada, yada. So you're going to get paid less. So yes, for a pre-1990 claim, it can make a big difference if that is accepted as a recurrence or if it's accepted as a new claim. And here, this is one thing that I want you to understand, because a lot of people will talk about shit out there that they have no clue what they're talking about in these Facebook groups and all kinds of stupid nonsense bullshit where people have the gift of gab, but they have zero legal knowledge or understanding of the law to support anything they're talking about. But I can tell you, even if somebody tells you that, no, it was done back then, you can't do anything about it. You can't go back and have it changed. I'm telling you right now that you can, right? You can have anything changed. If there's merit and if it's properly worded and if it's properly presented, yes, that recurrence that happened on January 2nd, 1990 could very well be reverted or reversed to go back to your pre-1990 claim. I'm telling you that right now. Regardless of whether there's appeal time limits and they tell you that you have no right to appeal and it's gone and your case is closed, your file is closed, and there's nothing you can do. All of it's bullshit hogwash. Okay, don't believe any of that crap. If there's merit, it can be changed. I have a pre-1990 claim, February 20th, 1986, when I had my injury. And you would, trust me, I could write a novel on all of the go-around that I've had with these idiots to make sure that they didn't fuck with me and take away my benefits or didn't pay me what they're supposed to. And I can tell you in every one of those battles, I won. I don't want to sound arrogant, but I won. I think maybe it got to the point where they said, we just don't want to argue with this fucking guy. Just give him whatever, just give it to him. I don't want to hear about it. Just do it. Because they know I'll go to the end of the world to make sure I get what's rightfully mine, and I'll do the same for you. So yes, even if your claim goes back that far, don't be under the impression you can't do anything, that a recurrence that should have been accepted or a new injury and claim that should have been accepted as a recurrence can't be changed, because it can. Now, in post-1990 claims, January 1st, 1990 to December 37th, 1997, which is Bill 162, and then January 1st, 1998 to date, which is Bill 99. Whether a claim is accepted as a recurrence or a new claim, that can affect your benefits as well. Both your Section 49 supplements under the Bill 162 that were paid while you were receiving a future economic loss award, and also how that future economic losses award is calculated, whether or not it should be increased, because again, with how a recurrence is determined versus a new claim, and the same thing for Bill 99 claims, January 1st, 1998. It'll affect your loss of earnings benefits. For example, if you have an injury, and I've dealt with all of these, so I'm not just talking about stuff that I kind of dreamt up or using the example, I have absolutely no clue what I'm talking about. I've dealt with every one of these situations. So if you have an injury, let's say January 1st, 2020, and you're earning $30 an hour. So, and you have a permanent impairment, you received a non-economic loss award, you go back to work, but you can't do your modified job. There's a new job that was offered by the employer, or you found a job with another company, which was deemed to be appropriate because your employer couldn't provide modified work. To keep the example very simple, let's assume that you go back to work with your pre-injury employer, and but not on your regular job, so they put you in a different job which is classified differently, and now rather than earn $30 an hour, you're earning $25 an hour at this job, and the WSIB is paying you a loss of earnings benefit, partial loss of earnings, to make up that $5 an hour difference. And so you're back to work, you go along, and you have another injury. And this is determined to be a new claim. And in this new claim, your earnings are $25 an hour. And you're receiving a partial LOE for the difference under your previous claim. And they decide, well, we're going to pay you based on your $25 an hour. But your escalated pre-injury earnings for the original claim in 2020 are now higher. So rather than 30, maybe it's $32 an hour difference. Well, are you going to get compensated for that extra $2 an hour? Do they just decide to pay you based on the $25 an hour for the time that you're off due to this new claim that they set up? Because it's a new claim, right? Well, I've seen it where they're using the earnings for the new claim as your LOE benefits to pay LOE while you're off work, as opposed to the escalated pre-injury earnings. And so you're going to be at a disadvantage because you're going to receive less money. The law states that when there's a recurrence or a new claim, that the LOE should be paid based on the escalated pre-injury earnings or the most recent earnings, whichever is greater. Pretty straightforward. But do they always do that? Well, I've seen cases where they don't. And this is where you get into the disparity between different case managers and levels of experience and different offices and all that kind of crap, where things aren't done consistently. And of course, if you don't understand your rights and you don't understand the law and you don't know how to articulate where they went wrong, because believe me, if you just say, listen, I'm earning less money now than I did before, that's not going to prompt them to go and review why that's happening. They're just going to say, well, you had a new claim, you earned so much an hour, and that's what you're entitled to receive, and that's it. And most people assume that's correct, which in a lot of cases, it is not. No wonder they hate me so much. All right, my friends, I hope that I was able to give you some insight into how these matters are dealt with. Some of the pitfalls that go with having recurrence under a previous claim as opposed to setting up a new claim. There are also advantages to having a new claim set up as opposed to having it done under a recurrence. So there are a lot of different factors that can be taken into consideration. I just gave you a couple of very simple, straightforward examples that affect your LOE, your pension, but there are other considerations. But I would have to spend about 2 hours talking about all of them and explaining to make sure that you really get it. That would be confusing, and it would probably be boring, and it might disrupt your pre-weekend anticipation. Let's put it that way. All right, my friends. So if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. It's free. And hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I come out with a new video. Give me your comments. Send me an email if you have any questions about this episode or any other matter relating to WSIB. Of course, as you know, we have our preferred legal provider network, which are lawyers and paralegals who handle WSIB cases at all levels. And if you need legal services, we can, as a member of WSIB Settlements, we would give you access to this network of lawyers and paralegals. And of course, we have our own membership. So visit our website, which is right here on the screen, WSIBsettlements.com. We have a membership. I think it can be tremendous to help you, regardless of what stage of the game you're at. And if nothing else, you can get a free consultation to talk about your case and whether or not there's any merit in pursuing anything, and or not. All right, my friends. And so please share my videos with others, because there's a lot of people around this province who need help. And we want to make sure that we help everyone. Okay? So, as always, have an amazing weekend. Take care.
We know that connecting with the right lawyer or paralegal to handle your case can be overwhelming. Do they have the expertise to handle your case? Do they have a good track record? Are they affordable? We've got you covered. Legal Pro Connect takes the guesswork out of finding the right legal provider. We've already done the vetting for you and connect you with the right lawyer or paralegal. With the expertise to handle your specific issue and at preferred rates. Get connected today. Visit www.wsibsettlements.com.